Welcome to the sixth and final part of the video lectures for the Bardic Occasion module of Gaming Homer. And this lecture is going to be about a case study of the concept of kleos, that fundamental concept for Homeric epic, in Homeric epic and in a kind of strangely configured way in games like Lord of the Rings Online, which I'm going to use as my example. Now, kleos is that special word that comes from the verb that means to listen, and it is, and it's not an exaggeration, the complete foundation of Homeric epic. That is, having people listen to tales of your deeds is what Homeric epic is. And so when heroes themselves start to think about their kleos, which is usually translated glory, but is perhaps better translated as fame or reputation, which is what your translator Lattimore usually does with it. When heroes think about their own kleos in Homeric epic, the Iliad and the Odyssey, they're not just thinking about whether they're going to be remembered, that is, their fictional character, but they're thinking about what it means to be a character in a Homeric epic. And so it's a kind of, well, here's the fancy term, mise en abîme, which is something, a term that comes to us from painting. You're casting the actual being of the story into the story. And so one great example of that is the oh-so-famous moment at the beginning of Book 9 of the Odyssey when Odysseus is starting to tell his own story. And it goes like this. But now your wish was inclined to ask me about my mournful sufferings, on page 137 if you've got the Lattimore, so that I must mourn and grieve even more. What then shall I recite to you first of all? What leave till later? Many are the sorrows the gods of the sky have given me. Now first I will tell you my name, so that all of you may know me, and I hereafter, escaping the day without pity, be your friend and guest, though the home where I live is far away from you. Okay, stop here. We're going to go one line further, but remember he said the first thing he's going to do is tell them his name. So your name is fundamentally connected to the activity of storytelling. And he says that not only is his name connected to the storytelling, but it's connected to what he's hoping for, which is that I'm going to be your guest, I Odysseus, with you the Phaeacians, and you're going to be my guest, and we're going to build, and this is of crucial importance, a structure of xenia, of guest friendship, an economic structure of gathering wealth as time proceeds. So the kleos of the name is connected to the actual material need for which Odysseus is telling the story. But then he continues, I am Odysseus, son of Laertes, known before all men for the study of crafty designs, and my fame goes up to the heavens. And the word fame is, of course, kleos. And so he begins this whole thing in which he's playing the bard, but also a kind of part better than the bard, with the description of his kleos, saying, okay, that's why this story is here, that's what we're doing. And the bard is thereby reflecting on, well, to put it very broadly, the value of the activity that he's doing, the value of epic storytelling, and how great it can be. Okay, so when we go to games, well, if we find something that looks like kleos, it's a little stranger because the being of games doesn't depend on this structure of people talking about the heroes in the games and therefore buying more games so much, right? The actual being of Homeric storytelling is a bard is paid in food, mostly, according to the Odyssey at least, to continue telling these stories of heroes. It's not exactly the same way with games because the heroes in games aren't so fundamental to the activity of the making of the game. That is, you have a game developer and you have a game player, but the activity, the gaming, is not kind of the same thing as saying that a hero is really great, a hero gets a new title, which is what we're going to see in Lord of the Rings Online. On the other hand, the fact that a game like Lord of the Rings Online has a non-player character, as we'll see, called the Bard, and that the Bard is in very tight control of something that's absolutely fundamental to the gameplay, we'll see its traits, says something really important about the participation of games in the epic tradition, and the kind of mismatch between this kleos structure and what's actually going on in the games is going to be a source, I think, of really interesting discussion for us. And also it will lead us on to a unit down the road, the unit called mini-games. Because when we get to the mini-games, we are dealing with that same kind of mise en abîme, putting the means of the story into the story itself. Because when you play a mini-game in a larger game, you are, in a certain sense, reflecting on the activity that you're doing. You're playing a game within the game, just as in the Odyssey, Odysseus' tales of his adventures are stories within the story.